How's it going anyway, Stuart? Not been a while.
All right, mate. Yeah, it's been a while, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I love that you're in your little cave again.
I know. Do you know what? I know. I just feel like a real douchebag because I just looked at the records and I bet they think I've staged them.
Yeah.
I'm,
Radiohead,
I'm always
Fontaine.
I'm always banging on about Radiohead, but that's just what I listen to. That's just how it is. I might like do a few costume changes with the records throughout this podcast. But yeah, you
Yeah.
wouldn't thank me for doing it upstairs. The kids are running amok.
You've got like Void's artwork on your wall, Tom, or something.
Oh, yeah, it's Hajime Soriyama, however you say his name.
All right, nice.
He makes these sexy robot pieces of art. Good. He's very Julian, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So you still got your record shop then, Stuart?
No, that was a short-lived thing. That was like
Okay, right.
COVID distraction, I think. And then, I mean, it's rough selling records. You make about £3 on a record.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
And then, I wanted it to be really niche, and I just ended up stocking Bob Marley records to sell to tourists. And I was like, this isn't what I'm in this for. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
jacked it in, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, because I was doing a bit of research last week when I was talking to Tom and Lloyd about saying they should release that live Ulu recording. But I guess you'd be the man to talk to about that, I suppose. You'd have more knowledge than anyone.
I don't know about that, Harry.
Well, like in terms of like pressing them and that, would you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely I know some, not me directly, but I know people who run little labels, and I think it's quite a thing getting records pressed. It's quite often queues for good ones.
Yeah.
You have to wait a while. It's quite a turnaround, and then they prioritize the bigger orders. So if you're a little and you just get pushed to the back, it's political. You have to grease some palms, man, to get your records pressed these days.
Okay. I had the Brexit played a role in that as well or something, but anyway, it's a bit boring, isn't it?
Boris, mate, Boris.
All right. Well, yeah, cheers for jumping on. Mm.
No worries. Cheers for having us.
But,
Um, but yeah, how you been rehearsing? You been going up to Hull for rehearsals then, all the way from Margate?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we've done three now.
well, he picked me up on the way, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a bit of gentleman's roadship. That sounds weird. We just went over in the car.
Week round.
Yeah, it was good. It was not a nice day for it. But yeah, it's been good. We've been rehearsing in a place called Gorilla. It's got like fluorescent pink walls, which feels weirdly fitting.
And it fucking stinks, which is also very fitting.
Yeah,
Where is it?
Mm.
Oh God,
it's on an industrial estate in Hull.
we're in town or something? No.
Oh, it's on Skullcoats Lane.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, but it is quite good. I think it's the best sounding room that we've been in. I agree. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it sounds surprisingly good.
yeah,
The smell.
it sounds all right. Yeah,
The smell does not equal sound at this place.
How much are these days to record? I mean, to rehearse.
It's about £20 for half a day. It's amazing.
That's all right. It's like what used to be in 2005.
Exactly.
it is all right to be fair. Isn't
Better than gig shop.
it? That's what it was called.
Yeah, that's what we used to do on Bev Road. Yeah.
Remember the other day, Stu was trying to figure out what the music shop was called on Bev Road.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it, Gig Shop.
It was that.
Good
Gig
name,
Shop.
man.
All right, let's crack into it then. First song, Stu, I think is one of yours. Block Party. Why this band? Why this song type thing?
I mean, I've tortured myself over putting this list together over the weekend. I lost sleep over it. But I just, I take myself back to that time, early to mid noughties, and where I was and what I was trying to make my way through the band scene, meet like minds and that, and going loads of gigs, and I just, I was always out at gigs, and the bands would often come through the Barfly because I lived in Camden, and they come through, pretty early on. And there were just some bands that, a couple blew me away. Block Party was one of them. And just that song Banquet, it was like a guitarist in those times. Like, I was always a big fan of that sort of angular post-punk way of playing guitar. And, when I heard that and the way they sort of interplayed with the guitar, I mean, it's just an amazing band. And it sort of really inspired me, I think, as a guitarist in those times. So yeah, that's definitely gone on my list of bangers. And I could have picked any one off that album, I think. But if we're talking bangers, it's got to be Banquet in it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's another album that's 20 years old this year as well.
Yeah, was it 2005? I don't know what year that came out. It was just
Yeah, yeah, because I think they're doing like shows around it this year as well,
nice.
but not the original lineup type thing. It's whatever it is now, I think.
Oh, who's not in it?
A couple of them.
The drummer and the bassist.
Oh, that's all right. They're expendable. I never said that.
Both been on the pod, so that's a shame. Let's play the song anyway. This is Block Party with Banquet. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, what age did you? Is it Birmingham you were, or you in the Midlands originally?
Yeah, I'm from Birmingham.
What age did you like? I don't know. Like, what did you have your formative years there? When did you move, kind of thing?
Yeah, because I'm a wee bit older than the rest of the pads. I've got another 5 years on them. So I was, I kind of got a little bit of a different bit of music before that. So I was 20 when I left Birmingham. I lived in a place called Moseley, which I suppose you call the place. It was sort of like the Camden of Birmingham, really.
I remember that. I know that name because in it like something to do with Ocean Colour City.
Yeah, so they, that was their haunt, and they used to play a lot in the Jug of Ale, which is the pub there.
Is it a Peaky Blinders reference as well? I don't really watch it, but Moseley.
What's that? Moseley.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a Peaky Blinders thing. Peaky Blinders was more sort of Borsley Green, Digbeth.
Right.
So different sort of part, but not too far away. But yeah, it was a really good place to grow up. There's a really good live music scene, band scene in Moseley, and I used to run an open mic night with my buddy Boo on a Sunday evening. We used to just set up whole stage of equipment, and then musicians would come from far and wide. Some as a band would come and play, some just would turn up on their own, and we'd generally cobble bad covers of Led Zeppelin together or whatever. But that was a really good sort of melting pot, if you will, for kind of starting to play live. Really, I was still quite young, I suppose, then, maybe 17. My first ever gig, incidentally, was playing bass in a Crowded House covers band. How about that for cool?
What? You never told me that.
I just can't even believe I've just said that. And it was a Christmas gig, and I had like tinsel.
I have had second thoughts years ago, if I'd have known.
I know, so I kept it quiet, mate. But yeah, it was great. And then my world was very small there in Birmingham. I lived above a pub. The pub, we did the mic night in. I worked across the road, and one day, one of the guys who came to the open mic, he was filling in a form to come down to music school in London. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to music school in London." And I was like, "All right, I'll do that." So I quickly filled in a form myself. And next thing I know, a few months later, I was down in London at this music college. And that's where I met a whole host of people there. And then we all sort of moved to Camden when college finished. And then that, was right in the heart of it then. But yeah, I can't remember what your initial question was, Harry, to be honest.
No, I'm just like interested in your route into it. Like, was that a useful college to go to in the end?
Do you know what? It's useful in terms of getting me to London and getting me to meet people, yes. Useful in terms of what I learned, arguably, no. But there were people who went on to be sort of pro musos, but that was never really my thing. I never really wanted to be a virtuoso. I always just wanted to be in a band. I remember, jumping around my bedroom listening to Nirvana with my guitar strapped around my neck. And it was, the music was a big part of it, and I loved the guitar, but more so I just wanted to be in a band, that sort of gang situation. And really I was always just looking for that, really. So when I came down to London, I met a bunch of people at college who did end up starting a band with. Lawrence, we did The Social for many years, and that was really good fun too. I kind of, when I jumped into the Pads first tour, before I was doing The Social, and then afterwards I went back to The Social for a bit more. So I was kind of in and out of that. But yeah, I met really good people there, and moving to Camden as well at the time, it was such an amazing place to be. It was kind of, I feel like it's sort of become a little overdeveloped now and a bit of a shell of what it was, but it was quite raw back then. And the people who used to sort of gravitate there, the bands, just everyone used to, from the punks on the bridge to the all the stalls on the market. You had the Dublin Castle, a good mixer, under solo. Barfly, always called the Monarch back then. But it was just, music was everywhere, and there was a real scene of people floating around. So you just met tons of people. It was real good fun. And then we sort of moved over east by the time I met sort of mid-noughties. When I met Paddingtons, it was sort of more about Rhythm Factory and everything that was happening over east a little bit more and in central. But yeah, the early noughties in Camden, it was good times.
Yeah.
So
you were in a band with Lisa Morris as well, I imagine that.
Yeah, I was in Kill City. That's really how
that's how we met, really, isn't it?
That's how we met. I was a bit of a loose end band wise, and someone put me in touch with Lisa, and it ended up working out. So Lisa was there with Welsh Pete, and I jumped in on guitar. There's a few different guitarists, but yeah, Kill City was on Pop Tones, and so was Paddingtons, and we ended up playing a few dates. I remember there was one tour we did, and we were just driving around England. It was, Kill City in a car with Johnny Ray, the driver. And then there was the Pads winging around in the Riot van, and then the Cribs as well. And we were playing dates together. And that's how really we became friends. I remember we pulled up in the car next to the Paddingtons bus one night, and I looked around and they were all playing FIFA in there and having a right good time. So I was like, I want to come in this one with yous. And I remember going in and there was just like Lemonhead's lyrics all written all over the wall. And I was like, I'm staying in this van. And from then, the rest is kind of a bit history, really. We became really good friends. I was thinking actually the other day, the first time I met Josh, we were recording a video because Kill City did Hooligans on E, right? So Welsh Pete had written with Pete Doherty, Hooligans on E. So there was a shared credit on that, Jones and Doherty. So in Kill City, we had license to do that song. And we were doing the video in the toilet, in the basement toilets at, was it White Heat, Tom? What was that? What was that venue or that night? Was it Calderdy's night in, it was in Sintra Town, wasn't it? Back at Savile Row.
I want Infinity, isn't it?
Infinity, was that it? Yeah. So we were doing a video down there, and Josh just came bowling in the toilets, and he just gave me this massive hug. I don't think I've met him before, but that was caught on camera. So if you want to look up on YouTube, my first meeting with Josh, I think it's buried in a Kill City video.
It's actually in the video, is it?
Yeah. There's just like a clip of it, and that was the first time I met Josh, and I was really just bowled over really by the Pads from the start. It was as someone who was at first a fan and like someone who used to just sort of stand back and watch it, they were just captivating really in so many ways. And I used to sneak off on my own to see them many a time. But it was everything. It's just that, how friendly they were, personalities, the music was ace, they looked wicked, just the whole package. If I use a very overdone term, they really had the X factor for bands back then. And I felt like, I always felt like, we just had a really good connection from the start, really. So I think it was nice to be invited into their story when they needed a sub-guitarist on their tour. And, sort of been in and out ever since. And it's good to be back now, keeping Josh's seat warm this time. He's in New York, bogged down over there for a bit. So, coming at it from a different angle, but great to be playing again.
Yeah. You played some of the coolest gigs as well. You played with the Sex Pistols night or whatever that was.
Yeah, that was a real good one. That was the famous fish hook photo, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
Do you know what I found the other day, Tom, as well? I was going because I've been going through my box of band bits, and I don't know if you remember this, Tom, but I found this rooting through my bits, and I pulled up this bit of cloth, and I was like, "That's a ripped pair of pants, like fronts."
Did I wedge you?
I don't know where we were playing. I remember it was a grim one.
I don't know what I had in for, to be fair.
It was so I can't remember where it was. It was real late in the tour. Everyone was lagging a bit, and I feel like it was like a provincial nightclub that had a band, like bands, someone promoting bands early on. But as the bands were coming to an end, they were just letting in like Smirnoff Ice crew to then, you know, cut shapes to some 90s garage. And there was just this really weird like energy and turnover of people. And Tom, I think, picked up on that and was like, fuck this. And I remember you just come over to me while I'm playing and put your hand down my pants and pulled my pants, my ironic Y fronts from Marks and Spencer's that had the little holes in. You just ripped them clean out from me while I was playing.
That's from a cartoon.
I've got them. I'll tag you on. I'll tag you, Harry. You can see them.
Could go to the museum, the Indie Museum.
My spuds have never been the same.
All right, Tom, let's go to your first choice then. The Strokes, Trying Your Luck. Why this particular song?
I mean, it was so hard to choose. I think all my choices were the same. It was like, I think I just love all these albums as a whole. I think I chose this song because I used to play it a lot on guitar, and it was like probably the only one that I could play on guitar. Don't know, there's just something about it. I mean, his vocal throughout the album as well for me. But yeah, it's just all nostalgia, I think. Same with every other song.
Yeah, fair play. Well, let's play it. Here's The Strokes with Trying Your Luck. A band that you both saw a lot back in the day. I remember you going to see them multiple times on that First Impressions tour, I think, Tom.
Yeah, I remember that because like we ended up with their manager's number somehow, and we'd met them. We'd met them before on Ryan Gentle's birthday. This was it, and him and Julian were out, and yeah, and I ended up with his number. So then I used to pester him on every show that I could turn up to if I could. So I think we went to like I think Donny Doe. Did you come to some of them?
I went to like three. Were you talking to me? Sorry.
No, I was talking to Harry.
I think it's before I really knew you at that point.
Was it?
Yeah, just before.
Yeah, I remember just like going to as many as I could on that tour, basically, and I think he was doing his head in by I went to about 5 of them.
I always remember the whole City Hall gig because you like remember the whole band piled into some woman's really tiny car to like escape
really?
from the venue. You know, a woman she used to run a shop down Prinny Ave.
Can't remember.
Can't remember her name, but you're like sat in the VIP bit. Yeah, I forgot about that actually.
Yeah, we were on the balcony bit, weren't we?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We was there.
But were you banging to him as well, Stuee, back in the day?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was game changing. I actually didn't see him that many times, just a handful. But I mean, obviously, it was a game changing album in so many ways. I mean, what was it? 2001, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in 2000, I was wearing Air Max and Levi Twister jeans.
I remember their adverts actually. Yeah.
You mean Josh Taylor? Josh used to have them Twister jeans. I remember that.
Oh, we all did. And then the Strokes came along, and I was like, "Hey, these are way too baggy now." Get the sewing machine.
Yeah, they really did just change everything, didn't they?
Overnight. Yeah, it was.
Fucking hell.
And for the better, for the much better. It was a real wilderness before they dropped that album. Like the real arse end of Britpop, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, they were like Star Sailor and that.
Yeah, just ringing it out.
Confusing time.
It was a confusing time. We needed the focus.
But I suppose you were kind of like pioneers of the fashion of that scene. Like where would you find your clothes or like your inspiration at that point?
Well, if I may, it was interesting, like, because I used to live with my aforementioned buddy Boo, and we used to. It was really before I think they were mass producing skinny jeans. So you could either wear, I think girls' jeans were like already made tight, but they weren't really doing that for guys' jeans. So we'd be like sewing ourselves into them. But of course, once you'd sewn yourselves into them, you had to leave like a little bit at the bottom so you could actually get your foot in and out. So you'd end up like hand sewing it. Maybe I'm going off piece here anyway. And I worked in the army shop at the time as well. So there was loads of, a lot of it was a bit of army surplus and then making your own jeans. And I used to wear like African wedding shoes, and there was obviously like brogues floating.
Sounds like a band on Six Music, isn't it?
I mean, it was hellish, it was hellish. But I remember thinking, because when I saw the Pads as well, like, felt they were sort of kindred spirits in that regard. I remember on that tour we spoke about, ended up in that back room of Adelphi around the pool table, and there was, all of them wearing like military trench coats and the skinny jeans, and I was like, oh, you guys sort of.
Where'd you get your jeans from?
Where'd you get your jeans from, guys?
Sure, I don't know if it's a bit of a myth, but they used to be like, get in the bath with your jeans on, and then the
Yeah, that's not a myth. You do that with the expensive ones, didn't you? The salvage ones, the shrink to fit.
Yeah, it was all charity shops, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can't shrink to fit with a pair of charity shop jeans.
Yeah.
You can quote me on that.
Remember on a turn telling me some story, Tom, that you used to drag each other across a gravel driveway to get your jeans on or something. Is that true?
What was this? To make holes in them or to get?
No, to like get them on properly or something.
Wow, can't remember that.
So it sounded a bit extreme to me, but anyway, back to the music, Stuey. Futureheads, Decent Days and Nights. Why this particular song here?
I just wanted to give the Futureheads a shout out. I think I feel like they maybe get a little overlooked, or maybe they were a bit overlooked at the time. I don't know if I'm making that up in my head, but I just
I think they do deserve it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought they were so good. I remember my friend took me to see them. She was like, "You're going to really like this band." And again, another one at the Barfly. And I was just blown away. I mean, I've always been like a fan of XTC and the Jam and stuff like that. And I thought that they took some things that I really loved from a bit ago and turned it into something really smart and contemporary. They performed so well. The vocal, like their three vocals working together, they were always so tight. And I mean, I just thought the songs were great too. I saw them a bunch of times. And then, I just don't necessarily feel like they perhaps achieved the status that maybe they deserved. I just thought they were really smart. And that first album I listened to loads and loads. And I think that song is probably my favourite off that album. So I think I just wanted to give the Futureheads a bit of a shout out, really.
No, yeah, fair play. I know what you mean. They weren't seen as like a cool band, were they, really? I don't know.
Yeah, I think only one of them wore brogues. That's not enough. You need at least three band members in brogues.
Yeah, fair play. All right, well, let's play them anyway. Here's the Futureheads with Decent Days and Nights. And then, yeah, Tom, back to your choices. The Cribs, I thought it might be a Cribs song on there, but I didn't know which one. But why this particular one?
Again, so hard to choose. Stuart, I felt like this was for both of us because, we all have a love for the Cribs. Like, I mean, who've done, like, they're legends. And, like, I think I had to go off this album because it was just, like, I wanted to go on the first album, but I think this album came out when we were like really connecting with them and like touring with them a little bit. We'd do like the odd show with them, wouldn't we? And I just feel like this whole album was like a bit of an anthem for the whole. I'd have it on constantly in the van, and it just kind of. I think everyone in that scene that we were kind of in London, like. It all kind of revolved around that bit. But I don't know, they used to end on this song as well.
Yeah, I was going to say it used to be the closest song, yeah.
And I think that really stuck with me. I don't know, there's just something about it. And yeah, just because they used to like close every gig that we were with them. I don't know, it just stuck with me.
Yeah. I mean, the structure of it's a bit mad, isn't it? It's like, it opens with the chorus, but like... as like quite slow, and then it's got that mad speed, like spoken word verse.
Spoken word, I think like the spoken word bit as well. Like I just really remember that because at the time I was pretty young and I didn't really know what I didn't really listen to much spoken word. Do you know what I mean? I did.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I'd see it a bit more, but
yeah. It's the go-to now, isn't it? With like people like Yard Act and that.
Yeah, exactly. Like for that, with that song with them, kind of the first time that I'd heard someone do it. Someone that I was into anyway.
Yeah. All right, well, let's play the song. Here's The Cribs with The Wrong Way to Be. Yeah, it's been interesting with like the Mardoos making a bit of a comeback, and they've posted photos and stuff. You kind of, as someone that wasn't there, you get an idea of the
Yeah.
nights that are going on with like you and the Cribs and them.
Yeah, and all them just like every night would be an invasion on the stage. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think the Cribs must have headlined every one of those shows, apart from when we were doing like the the ones with Doherty at Rhythm Factory and stuff like that. But you know, if there was if there was a show on with all of us on it, it kind of revolve around the Cribs a bit.
Yeah, yeah. And you say you played with them as well, Stuey, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Kill City, playing gigs with the Cribs. And they always just used to just absolutely blow away. And I feel in that the New Fellas album, like just their personality really, really came through. I mean, obviously the first album's amazing too, but I don't know, there was just something really magic about that second album. It was almost like that was like the big arrival, really. And you can, just in the lyrics and the attitude, and it really like just always used to make people go nuts, and still does. I mean, me and Tom spent many a night walking down every street screaming out Crib songs. That's why I left the Cribs one to him this time. I didn't touch it. I was like, it's Tom's turf.
I thought I was actually expecting us to have a couple in. I thought.
I mean, it could all be Cribs, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play. All right, well, let's play. I don't know if I've introduced it yet, so let's introduce it. Here's the Cribs with The Wrong Way to Be. I think have I done that already? I don't know. Losing my marbles. Then the Rakes, Stuey. Brilliant song, brilliant album. Did you play much of these back in the day?
The namesake of your fine podcast. It's there was a degree of separation between me and the Rakes. So when I was playing in the Social, we had a drummer called Phil, and he had actually left the band to go and manage the Rakes because he knew them. And they were
right.
really,
I think he's been on the pod, Phil Moraes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So I met him when he auditioned to be a drummer for the Social.
Okay, right.
Cat. So he was like, actually, lads, I can't do this drumming thing anymore. I've got to go and manage this band, the Rakes. And I think they'd only just sort of put themselves together. They weren't. Forgive me, because probably need fact checking here, but I think that it was something they came to quite late, and it was like a conceptual thing, and they just came into it and wrote tons and tons of songs, and they for me they were just magic. Like that first album, Capture Release, I listened to it constantly, and when I worked on the Army shop in Camden, I would just used to listen to it over and over again, and I think the theme that they were of a lot of their songs is quite a classic theme, isn't it, in music? It's that kind of escape the rat race thing, from the Specials to Oasis to whoever, that kind of observational songwriting about kind of escaping the mundanity of the rat race and work life. It's one that's like, it's very captivating, isn't it? And I suppose sport and music have traditionally been the two escapes to get you out of that, and so it's a real good marriage between the things. When you're my time working Camden Market was cash in hand, so that I could try and do my stuff with bands, and it was definitely burning the candle at both ends. And working in the Army shop, it was actually pretty hard graft most of the time. Just, you're hauling stuff pretty much constantly, and so having like there's generally a pretty punk soundtrack in that place, but I would always stick the Rakes on whenever I could, and I found some solace in it. And that song in particular, it's the last one on the album, and it's probably not one of like.
Is that the second album?
First album, Capture Release.
Yeah,
it's the last track, and it just really rounds it off nicely. And I could listen to Alan all day long, and just what he's singing about, and soy sauce stains on his shirt, and I mean he obviously had a job. I probably didn't know what it was, but he was obviously singing from a place of experience, and I just think he voiced that really well, and I found it an album that used to give me great great solace back in the day, and it was brilliant music as well. I mean, they're good guys as well. But yeah, that's my connection with the Rakes, and I think it remains one of my most listened to albums of all time. That one.
No, definitely. I think it's aged really well as well. I think. I say with the
Yeah,
lyrics, you can almost as I've got older, I've appreciated the lyrics more. I think kind of like pretty timeless
yeah,
and
yeah.
funny kind of
Still
thing.
holds up. Yeah, and I remember reading there was an interview. Someone interviewed Alan from the NME, and they commented that he was the only person to ever turn up for a rock and roll interview with a National Geographic rolled up in his back pocket, and I just love that. I remember
Yeah.
actually, Tom, we were on a tour, but we were on tour. We passed their tour bus, didn't we, at night? And we thought we'd go and like knock on their tour bus, and they were just all in their bunks already. Like, get up!
Yeah, I've seen to I spoke to young guys. I was saying about. I remember Grant telling me that you nicked all the beer once because they weren't particularly into like partying and that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think they used to drink Grolsch, didn't they? Because it was yeah, vegan, yeah,
gluten free or something.
something, yeah. Which at the time, I'm totally, I totally get that. But it was like, all right, Grolsch, nice, different, exotic. But no, really nice guys. I drove them around. I actually drove them to a couple of gigs because Phil, once he started managing them, he wrote me in to do a bit of driving for him. And I remembered I drove him to a gig up north somewhere, and I had a Vauxhall Astra Estate, very glamorous. And we piled them in with the gear, and I'd done one of them. It was like a movie thing because I drove the wrong way down like a dual carriageway, and I was
Jesus.
literally like swerving cars and onto the embankment bit because I was, full on cars pelting at me the other way. So that was a bit hairy. So yeah,
Fucking hell. Nearly killed the wreck.
he killed the Rakes. No,
Oh,
definitely would be a band who didn't deserve that.
well, on that note, let's play the song then. Here's the Rakes with Work, 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 Pub, Club, Sleep. And yeah, the dip into some questions got on Instagram. One to do with the Rakes from Ear Protect. Ear Protect. What was it like supporting the Rakes or playing with the Rakes, Tom?
Well, I think as Stuey says, it's like proper nice guys. Just really, yeah, it's really sound. But like touring, and like we were into that band, like Stuey says, and it's like I think when you're touring with someone like that, you watch them every night. It's like watching them get better every night as well. It's just like, yeah, it was this.
Yeah.
Good lads.
Love to see him reform, to be fair.
Yeah, I wonder if that. I don't know why. I just can't see it's going to
I
happen.
think it's Alan, isn't it? I think he's like, I get the vibe that he's quite happy doing his coding. Apparently, that's what he does.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah, we've got a few questions. Phil Hutch, he's put favourite rock and roll antidote. I'm assuming he means anecdote, but I don't know. Either way, it's quite a vague one. But I mean,
I don't know what we're allowed to say.
I was reading the call list today. That I did a video on it, and I didn't realise that that one they posted yesterday, Tom, on Brit Cult.
Oh yeah.
That you're in. I didn't realise on Liam Gallagher's, but it's actually a quote from him slagging you off. It's quite funny.
On mine.
Well, he says he's like a block party. He's like Liam known for like hammering other bands, and he's like quotes saying stuff like, "A block party looked like it should be on University Challenge." Something else. Then he's just like, "Oh, the Paddingtons are fucking rubbish."
Yeah, that was it.
Like
Then there's a bit back and forth in like some shit paper, weren't they?
yeah.
No, that was funny. That.
But even to get name checked by Liam Gallagher's fucking, it's just funny.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I think we were quite happy with that. To be fair.
Yeah, I would be. I think. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there must be plenty of anecdotes, but I don't know. I mean, knocking around with libertines, etc. I don't know really.
As you say, don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what we're allowed to say. I think I've slipped up a couple of times on this podcast.
I did want to pick you up on our story told to that podcast you're on recently about panic attack. I didn't know that you'd written that
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's quite ruthless lyrics, really, by him.
Well, no, but when you think about it, yeah, it's like a positive thing in a way because it's like I don't even know if did you know that, Stuey?
No,
Did you know it was about Pete?
I had no idea.
Yeah, even when I said it on that podcast, I was like, I wonder how many people do actually know. I'm sure Lloyd does. Like, I must have told Lloyd, but yeah, it's kind of like, you know, we don't want to die. Stop, stop getting so fucked up in a way. Do you know what I mean? That was what it was getting at. I want to live, don't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's quite a mature approach at that point, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of like, you know, because I mean, we were not getting as fucked up as him, but like things were they were definitely not sober. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, that was what I was getting at with it. And I did wonder if anyone ever really knew.
No, fair.
Clearly not.
So when like with lyrics like "you choose your size," you're saying like, don't know really, like that there's like a dark side that you could choose, or a
Yeah, yeah,
bit more of a positive side.
basically, yeah.
All right, interesting stuff. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, like the hedonistic aspect of it all is quite interesting to me. Like, do you think that was just par for the course, or was it a particularly more indulgent scene in that respect?
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you reckon, Stewie? Wise head.
Yeah. YZ, I don't know. Yeah, it was hedonistic. Um, and I think that there's a bit of a lifestyle aspect to it all, isn't there? You
Mm.
know, and it's quite intense doing gigs and stuff. There's travel and setting up and sound checks and the adrenaline and nerves and you do the show and it really is just this huge like outpouring of like emotional draining. And I think that on the other side of that, it's quite easy to just have yourself a merry old time into the night. And the people that you meet, and I think when you're in your 20s, you're pretty bulletproof as well, aren't you? And it just felt like you weren't even doing anything too crazy at the time. It was just life at the time. And when I think back now from my mid-40s standpoint as to how I used to live my day-to-day life back then, and I just can't even believe that we did it. And not necessarily the debauchery, that of course happened as part of it, but even just being out, even when I wasn't doing band stuff, just out every night, like there was a real scene of it. There's a different club night every night of the week in London, and you just hit every single one of them, and I mean it's just wildness. But yeah, it was great, and the amount of people we met all over the place. Also we toured Germany a few times, and everywhere we go, and this was something that I observed about the Paddingtons as well. Like they just, I'll say before I became part of anything. This is my observation, but they just went around the country making armies of friends wherever they went. And I remember when I filled in for Marv on that first tour, the bus would turn up at each venue, and every day there'd already be a ton of kids there waiting. Sometimes like shaking the bus, but always trying to get on the bus, trying to pull you out, trying to pull you into pubs, trying to just so engaged. And it was, I think, a testimony to just how accessible everyone was as a person back then. I think that sort of following, that sort of army of fans is still there, and looking forward to seeing the guys, I think, as we do this bunch of shows. But I think it's it's not a very far cry from everything to sort of tip over into sort of a bit of a party lifestyle. But it was always part of it for me. I loved it.
Mm.
Couldn't do it anymore, but back in my 20s. Yeah.
No, that you mean, mate. But yeah, you must have seen people like slip into the darker stuff. I don't know. I guess it was like I don't know really. There just must have been people that were like more susceptible to going a bit south, I guess.
Yeah, there was definitely a line, if you
Yeah.
pardon the pun, in the sand between what I would call the fun side of it and the perhaps less fun side of it. And I always managed to keep on the more fun side. I think I was just concerned really that you do start to go down a path with that, and it can sort of take over your life a little bit. And I never wanted it to be that. But yes, that there was certainly a mix of all kinds of stuff everywhere. But thankfully, I didn't know anyone or too many people who went really over the edge. I think everyone managed to sort of put it back in a little bit. But yeah, for me, there was I tried to keep that a bit separate. But
Yeah. No, fair play. Tom staying quiet, fair enough. Try everything once, eh, Tom?
Yeah, what was it? What did Pete Doherty say apart from incest and the internet?
Dear. Dave Laser from Dustin's just says chip spice question mark.
We all know,
Talking
we all
about
know about chip spice.
Marv says these guys look like they would have a funny story about being in a German. No, we'll leave that one.
Oh, yeah, we'll keep that one quiet.
Joe Straker says Newcastle head of steam many moons ago. What a gig, man. Can you remember any Newcastle gigs or tune gigs, as he puts it?
Head of Steam, I do recognise that name, but I remember the one at the Clooney that we did, which I think might I can't remember. They all blend into one a bit, but the Clooney one was good. I like that venue. Apparently, we're going to play there again as well. Maybe next year now, though. I think we've got our shows set up for the year, haven't we, Stu? Which we can plug if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that at the end if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no. Carlo Pinchetti says, do you remember that gig at the legendary club Plastic in Milan?
Oh, fuck. Stuey, was you there?
I don't think I did, Italy,
I'm not going to lie, I don't remember.
Fair enough. I think Berry, user 01482. I think Berry Dobbs, that is. What's your favourite colour?
Black.
It's got to be green.
Oh, very apt today, fair enough.
Oh, white.
What you do? And then one just come in now, actually. A bit more of a serious one. From Live Forever. Do you think you were hard done by on the second album by the media or the fans?
What happened with the?
I don't know. I was thinking, don't really know what happened.
I'd love to know what they mean by that. But
I suppose you got like maybe a less favourable review than the first one.
no, I mean, no, probably not. Probably weren't hard done by. I think we messed about a bit. I think I've spoke about this recently to someone, and it was like you can kind of it was a bit of a weird one. I only really like half of that album, and you can kind of hear, you can even hear it in the recording that it's not quite right.
Yeah.
Can't put my finger on it why, but it was a bit of an awkward time for us.
Yeah, it's all a bit. Just should have happened a little bit sooner, I guess. In hindsight.
Yeah, we left it too long.
Some bloke, some bloke messaged me on Instagram yesterday saying he picked up a signed copy of the Ladyboy Tapes vinyl from
I think you messaged the band.
a car boot in Bolton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad back.
Yeah. How's that got there?
Car boot in Bolton.
I was like, it's quite jealous to be fair. That looks quite good.
Did he say how much he paid for it?
No, I need to ask him actually. He runs like a record label here, apparently.
On that, what it's true.
Hey?
Wait, I need to have a look at that. I think he sent it to the band account.
Yeah, probably did. But you're all on there. You having a look at it? I can share my screen if you want. I can find it.
You got it, yeah.
Yes, one sec.
Car boot and Bolton.
If I can look at it. Oh, I don't know if I can look at it now, actually. Oh, I can, yeah. One sec.
What was the guy called?
Can you see that?
No. Oh yeah, there it is.
It's called Flatland Recordings FLR.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
A real nice message actually. So shout out.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, like Adam Green, I remember that night when you played with Adam Green at Union Chapel, because you were there, Stu, you were, you went back to your shop for a bit when you had a shop in Camden.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened?
Shop, air quotation marks, shop.
Yeah, that
That
was
was a good night, though.
well, not sure about what me and Josh were up to.
The astronauts.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah, yeah. Good
uh,
support slot, like that.
yeah, it was,
Remember embarrassing myself in front of Julian Barrett of Mighty Boosh. Just said, you're... I just kind of like, just felt the urge to say it right to him, and I didn't have anything to say. And he's like pointing on my wristband. He's like, "You've been to festivals?" Like, yeah, yeah. He's like, right, yeah, see you later, mate. So why have I done that? Fucking hell. Well, have you got any? Yeah, we've got else other platforms to go on here. Just got one in from Michael John Ford saying, any recollection of not showing up to support the Bravery in Dublin in 2005? Did that happen?
didn't think we'd never not shown up for a gig.
Yeah, I've never read that one before.
I do remember you supporting the Bravery, though.
Yeah, we definitely spotted the Bravery. I remember one night with the Bravery, like the stage collapsed or something. Where was
All
that?
right.
I can't remember where it was. Like, yeah, Birmingham maybe.
That sounds about right.
It was quite a good tour. That was
Yeah,
where.
I saw you play Brixton Academy with them, I think.
Yeah, that was quite. I enjoyed that tour. They were all right then.
Yeah.
They took me to that party with Julian Casablancas.
Right.
That was how it happened because they were mates with him.
Where was it?
But like the Met, I think it was that place you used to DJ at, Stu. Was it the Met Club, Met Lounge or something?
The Met Bar.
Met Bar. Yeah, it was there.
Yeah.
And Julian Casablancas, me and him were stood at the bar, and he had a joint, and he asked me if I wanted a bit, and I can't smoke weed to save my life, and I was like, yeah, go on then. And yeah, I ended up having a bit of his joint, and I was like, I'm
You
gonna,
didn't start crying on him, did
gonna
you?
whitey in front of fucked off. I went to the toilet after that.
Got one from Lizzie on Blue Sky. Will you be seeing the Cribs this year?
Yes.
Are you going to go to the one in Leeds?
Yeah, yeah. Is
Well, they're
it?
playing down south as well out this one.
Are they playing in Leeds with like Kaiser Chiefs or something?
Yeah, but then they're doing a similar one in Alexandra Palace, I think, or something. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely go and see the Cribs this year.
Yeah, always.
Cool. All right, let's fire through these last songs then. It's an interesting choice, Tom, because Lloyd said the sound you're going for with any new songs is similar to this band, The Thermals. Would you agree with that?
I think yeah, I would, and I think that's one of the reasons I chose it because they've come back in my head a bit more recently, and like, yeah, just their sound is just so good, and I think they were like, probably not enough people know about them. I think I first saw them, they were supporting the Cribs actually. Can't remember.
All right.
But yeah, that's how I got to know about them. They pretty sure Gary was mates with them because they're from Portland.
I think they played Adelphi at one point.
Yeah, and I saw him with the Cribs, and then on their own tour they played Adelphi, and I saw them there as well.
Yeah.
But they're ace. I think they're a three piece as well, which I also love. I love a three piece. And they
Fair
just
enough.
yeah they just sound ace. I think listen to them.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's play the song. Here's The Thermals with No Culture Icons. And then discussed them a few times already, Stewie, but Libertines with What a Waster. Why this particular song?
Yeah, I mean, had to be something from the Libs on there, right?
Yeah, well, I've seen that you chose it and took one of mine off.
Yeah, I mean, I think this one particularly, and I might touch on this with my last selection as well, but if memory serves me right, What a Waster came out in the start of the summer 2002. And I was at the time, I had one job ever in my life. I worked in the post room at Universal TV, and I made some real good friends there. It was just a DOS job. We used to just like watch Dawson's Creek and eat company toast and just basically do nothing. But at lunchtime, me and my pal Tom, we just go around to HMV on Oxford Street and just buy 7-inch singles, like, come back to the post room. We had a record player, listen to them. And really, The Libertine, the first time I heard that song, I'd heard like the Libertines buzz was kind of swelling around London, but they hadn't really sort of exploded onto the scene just yet. So it was really the first thing that I ever heard by the Libertines was, I went around lunchtime, bought the single of What a Waster, came back and listened to it, and it hadn't even seen pictures of them. I had no context really, and all that there was making an impression on me was the pure experience of listening to that song, and all of the sort of the feelings that you get with hearing something special for the first time was quite a very like real thing. I can still pretty much remember like how I felt when I listened to it, and I was like, oh, it's a bit like The Jam, and it's a bit like this, but it's not, and it's different, and like the lyric, and obviously it's there's quite a lot of swearing going on, and that was something that really jumped out, but it really worked as well. And I think just listening to it, you could tell that how like magic it was, and sort of obsessively listened to that. And then from that point, I think they were on the NME cover soon after that, and then it started to really pick up. And then I think Up the Bracket was out in the autumn, and by that point, it really exploded. But the What a Waster thing is, it didn't make it to the first release of the album, I don't think. Came on the reissue a bit later. And it always stood alone in my mind as just being this initial thing of beauty that was like a precursor to really what was the start of the whole explosion of a London music scene, really. And but yeah, I always think back to that track very fondly, and I think it's probably still my favourite Libertines track after all these years.
Yeah, I think I was listening to it today again. Like, I think the production has served it quite well because it's different to the first album, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a bit more.
I
don't know, something different about it.
Who produced it? Because Bernard Butler did the album, right? But
no, it's the other way around.
Bernard Butler did the single.
Yeah, and then Mick Jones did the album. Yeah.
Right, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's just a fantastic thing, and but I've seen them. They don't always play it, do they, Tom? Or they rarely play it.
No, I thought they did.
Am I wrong with that? Do they play it often?
I think they did when I saw them in December. I think they did. But yeah, I don't know. Got a lot of songs these days, I suppose.
Yeah, it's class. It was, yeah. Just one of those moments. I mean, just the fact, we had the Strokes going on from America, and then in tandem, the Libertines going on in London, and it was a hell of a time.
Yeah, all right, let's play the song then. Here's the Libertines with What a Waster. Can you remember the first time you played with them, Tom, out of interest?
Oh, must have been Rhythm Factory. I'm pretty sure it was like just a 3-piece though, and John wasn't there or something.
All right.
And maybe it was when Pete was like dressed up as a woman. See pictures of that gig. I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, and to be fair, we played more shows with Shambles. I didn't put a Shambles song in. Maybe that should have been one. There's too many to choose from. But yeah, I think we tore a lot more with Shambles more than Libertines.
Yeah. And then a bit of a left field one for the next choice. Stephen Martmus, Church on White. Yeah. What stood out about this?
I just love this song so much. I think like I got introduced to Pavement quite late on, but I don't know. When this album came out, what was it? Was it 2001 as well?
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, like I missed this album as well. I think I got introduced to even this album a bit late, but I just had to put something in there with Malcolmus because like I don't know, he's just become a massive influence like in songwriting over the past um recent years, I guess. Like if I was to I would go to Pavement as a bit of a like influence nowadays of when writing, do you know what I mean? And yeah, I think again this whole album I think is just like a bit of a masterpiece. Good.
Okay, well, let's play it. Here's Stephen Malkmus with Church on White. And then briefly going back to Liberties, Stuey, like you must have memories. You used to play gigs with them as well, not just with the Paddingtons type thing.
Yeah, so the social played a lot with Baby Shambles as well. I actually, so I went to college with Drew.
Oh, right.
We were roomies for many years, and then when he got the gig with Baby Shambles, he sort of kindly brought the social on to play quite a lot of support. So I was away with the Pads for some of that, but I rejoined later and ended up playing quite a bit with Baby Shambles. When I say quite a bit, I mean, he liked Lawrence. Lawrence is quite an interesting vocalist, really, because he's a natural bass. So we were sort of playing goth rock style, indie goth rock, if that's even a thing, and then Lawrence is sort of singing this operatic register, with a sort of Morrissey lilt to it, and it was a really, really special type of music. And I think Doherty took a shine to Lars. I think he used to call him Super Ted because for a while, Lars had sort of a bit of a teddy boy quality to him. But yeah, that happened as well. So I don't think I played also supporting Libertines with Kill City too. Played I think Brixton Academy with them once, which was pretty awesome.
Was that one of their biggest gigs type thing? Yeah, at the time.
Yeah, it was right in the thick of it. So that was a great pleasure to be part of that.
What year did you play with Kill City? Them supporting Libertines. Me and Grant first saw them at like Liverpool University or something, and Kill City was supporting that night.
Oh,
and
God. I don't remember. I don't think I did that.
Before we'd ever met them as well, and we were in the band at the time, and we shouted something to do with the Paddingtons, and Lisa Moorish like replied, going, "Oh, she was like, Paddingtons, who are they?" Like, I wonder if you were playing that night.
I don't think I did do Liverpool. There was definitely another guitarist before me, so it was probably him. But I definitely remember doing Brixton, and I remember there was a couple of others. But it was always good. I mean, the crowds at Libertines gigs are just amazing. So even if you're just playing, warming up, it's still an amazing atmosphere.
You weren't playing that gig where you ran off at Brixton, were you?
I don't think so.
I was looking at that recently, absolutely mental.
What was that? Was it Shambles?
No, but it's like one of the Brixton gigs with Libertines, and Pete thought, I think he said did some different things, but he reckons that Carl looked at him funny, so he just ran off down the street. Then came back for a few songs later. But yeah, mental.
He had a fight with Patrick Walden at Brixton Academy as well, didn't
he? Yeah, was that more of like a stage thing though, or something? Don't know.
Oh yeah, you never know, do you? But yeah, I remember people saying that at the time, yeah.
Yeah, mental.
It was a bit of a press thing.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And then one of the biggest songs of the era, if not maybe all time, Stuey, The Killers, Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, I had a big spiel planned for this, and now we're getting near the end of it.
When you dropped this one in there, I was like, for someone who listens to Dinosaur Jr., who actually has a really good taste in music, this is a bit.
Listen, I mean, right, I think my point with this is...
I know, I get it though. I know what you're going to say.
Right, I think my point with this is, right, of course, like now, it's overplayed to death and everyone knows it as like a wedding tune and all of that. But and I get it, and I think that it's a testimony to how good that song is that it's become such an overplayed wedding song, and I'm sure that people are like rolling their eyes at the fact that I put this in there. But what I wanted to say was, if you take yourself back to 2003, which is when I think it came out, and the musical landscape in London at the time, or in the UK at the time that was going on, it really like felt like it was coming from a really different place, and it felt like, so I think that I was listening to XFM because you had to listen to the radio back then to actually hear new music, and XFM was the thing. And I remember where I was when Diana died, and I remember where I was the first time I heard Mr. Brightside. And I was standing at a bus stop in Camden listening to XFM, and they used to do this thing. It was like King of the Table in Pool, right? So they play a preview of a song that was coming up, and then they play that against something else, and then everyone would phone in to vote as to which one stayed on. And usually you'd get a song for a day or a couple of days or whatever. And they played Mr. Brightside, and people voted that on every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I used to tune in every day for weeks and weeks and weeks to hear it, because that was the only place that you could hear it, because it wasn't out yet. That's how I remember it in my head. Whatever, we'll just go with it. But when I heard it, again, it's the same as when I heard What a Waster. I didn't have any context. I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know where they were from. I didn't know anything about them. I just heard this song in like a raw audio experience, and it just blew my mind, because it seemed to me at first listen that it was coming from a place of music that I didn't traditionally like. Like it was coming from a place of, like, I don't want to say System of a Down, but that kind of American, heavier, slightly more glossy. I mean, also, you know, I've sadly lived through that whole new metal thing with Slipknot, and I'm not saying Killers is like, I'm falling apart here, Harry. I should have done this first.
No, that album was amazing. It still is.
It was amazing, but you know, the album was yet to emerge.
Right, yeah.
And you know, the quality of that song just shone through from the very start. And I think, you know, when we pick it apart, it's a testimony also to how, you know, imagery can be used in, so like, I'm sure everybody can relate to that feeling of an ex or somebody you love going off with somebody else. And it's a heart-wrenching experience for anybody, and I'm sure we've all been through it. But with those lyrics in that song, he makes that real. Even now I listen to it, and it takes me to that place. And it's just very, very well written, and it's just amazing. And yes, it's overplayed, and yes, all right, I'm probably going to be struck off the cool. Well, I never was on a cool list, but whatever. But I just was going to say, you know, when people are listening to this song on your show this evening, don't listen to it through the ears of someone who went to a wedding last week and was doing the hokey cokey after it. Listen to it in the context of when it came out and what was happening, and just how, like,
and also
it was.
It's just so well written as well. Like,
it's immaculate. It's a sensational song, and I still enjoy listening to it now. I said it. I'm gonna listen to it this evening. through last week's ears as well. I don't care.
You need to pull out the record from behind you, and it's job done there.
Yeah, you know, but also it's quite, you know, in London back then, the music scene was quite sceney, and it was quite, you know, everyone's, you know, I heard the Strokes before you kind of thing. And everyone was trying to find the cool in everything all the time, and this just sort of transcended that for me in just sheer quality. So I think, you know, when I was told to put a list of mid-noughties bangers together, like, I had to say something like that.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's play it then. If
anyone's still listening, I've just cleared the room, Harry.
It's all right. We'll bring him back. The Killers with Mr. Brightside. There's a nice video on Instagram that surfaced recently that where they're playing it to a room of people that don't know it, like back in the day.
Oh, really?
It's interesting to watch. But go to your last song, Tom.
Yeah, I'll try and redeem it for us here.
Yeah, please, mate, please.
Well, it's funny because speaking of weddings, Markham played this as his first dance. Yeah. It slightly ruined it for me, but
yeah. Well, this song, is maybe a bit obvious as well, but I don't think I could have left this band out. It's like the Strokes and like the Cribs. Yeah, I just love this band as well, and yeah, I think they deserve the nod. But yeah, pretty obvious one. Maps.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaks for itself, I guess.
Yeah, it does
So
speak. Yeah.
here's it's with maps. Then yeah, I did want to say about the coolest one. Do you remember anything? Because I was talking about with Dave, did a video with Dave Laser from Dustin's today, and like just interested how NME would they get in touch with you about the coolest? Do you remember anything about it? 'Cause some of the questions seemed a bit like they'd kind of written the answers themselves almost. Not for you particularly, but
I can't remember. I do, yeah, I do remember I had to go and do a photo shoot for it though.
all right. Well,
Uh,
that random one with you in that
yeah,
uh, duffel coat.
think I think so. Yeah,
All right.
I think I actually had to go and that was what we got out of the photo shoot. I
I was going to say.
looked like a big brother. I think it was like during a tour as well. So yeah, I wasn't looking my best.
Fair enough. You look like caught you unawares type thing.
You talking about Pugwall as well? What?
I was asking David about that because I'd never heard of it, but he's explained it to me.
Yeah, TV show, innit?
Yeah, yeah. All right, well let's plug the gigs then. Got start this month, don't they? I
Yeah,
mean, this radio show will probably come out in April, to be fair, but yeah.
well, yeah, 28th of March is the first one. But yeah, then there's the ones in Hull, which are sold out. No, but the Stockton one is on the 20th. That's not sold out. So yeah, Stockton calling at the festival. We're doing the Maximo Park. Pretty sure Lloyd and Marv spoke about this as well.
Yeah, yeah. The one in Nottingham that's a similar vibe, is it?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's going to be before this comes out, I think.
All right. And then you got more like
But then the ones that were, yeah, the other ones that are all together in October later on in the year, and we're hopefully going to have a single to bring out then as well.
oh, yes, nice one.
Probably, yeah, but so yeah, we're booked in the studio to do that in May.
Ah, okay.
Hopefully we get
In Hull or
yeah, we are recording it in Hull,
right.
and we're trying to get it. We're going to try and get it out before the show's in October. Yeah.
Ah, that's it. Nice one.
We're playing Margate as well.
Yeah, yeah. Did you sort that one out?
Yeah, well, the Libertines are playing at Dreamland on 5th of July. And I think because Carl's bar is just, the next block along to Dreamland. And I think the guy who runs Justine's reached out to you, Tom, didn't he, about doing a gig at some point because he saw that there was some gig. And then I think we had a chat and thought it might be quite a nice idea to play on the same weekend as the Libs. So we're going to play the night before, figuring that people might want to make a weekend of it, or there'll be people in Margate already. But it's quite a small one. That would be a right little sweatbox. It's 120. Am I right?
Yeah, it's really small.
So I think it'll be good. That.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That yeah, you never know what's going to happen there. But yeah, if you're going to watch the Libertines in Margate, yeah, you send down early.
Yeah.
Has it been like what? Has it been easy to? I don't know what I mean by this, but like logistically, like booking venues, is it quite straightforward? Like the London one and stuff.
It hasn't been too tough, to be fair. Yeah, it's been. What happened with the London one as well was um, the other, like the Manchester and the Leeds one, they were all quite like connected. They were all the same company in the end, so it just
Ah, right.
yeah, they kind of yeah, it was all done by the same people, which was pretty handy.
Have you announced support for it yet?
No, we haven't announced it yet, but I think Dustin's bar mitzvah are going to support in London. Mardu's are going to play with us in Hull and maybe somewhere else. Dustin's bandmates who might end up playing with us somewhere else. But yeah, we're not totally sure yet. But
Yeah, fair.
oh fuck, I've forgotten the name of the band. I want to get this band on in Hull. They're called shit.
Are they from Hull?
No, they're from London.
Oh, right.
Not in Hull. I want to get them on in London.
Ah, okay.
Uncle, need to check. But they haven't really done anything yet. They haven't played many shows, and Uncle Junior, that's it.
From Sopranos.
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're called Uncle Junior. They're really good. Someone told me about them, told me to check them out, and I was listening to them on their SoundCloud, and yeah, they're pretty good. So I'm gonna try and get them on in London.
Okay. Yes. All right, well, cheers for your time, guys. I'll let you get off, but probably finish on this Paddington song when I can decide what to play. Played Killer Fashion Killer last time, so I'll try and pick another quirky one.
Mm.
What's your favourite to play live, Stuart, out of interest? Let's finish on one of them.
I'm just gonna say mine's Tommy's Disease.
Mine's also Tommy's Disease.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's play that then. Here's the Paddingtons with Tommy's Disease. All right, cheers, guys. I'll see you at a Paddington show in
Cheers,
the near
Harry.
future.
I'm really regretting that whole Killers thing. I thought I was being clever, and I'm not. I'm just a fucking nerd.
It's fair play, mate.
Yeah, I get it. You've got to be honest about these things.
Yeah,
You do,
exactly.
don't you? You do. Own it, right?
I've got some guilty pleasures.
Yeah, but you didn't say it on a podcast. You're lucky I didn't drop a Coldplay song. That's all I'm saying.
No,
That would not be allowed.
we need to mix it up now and again. It's all good. All right.
Thanks, Harry.
No worries. I'll be in touch. Yeah.
Catch you soon.
See you in a
Tom.
bit.